Okay,
We see
great.
your
So,
slides. Just your visuals, or we see two slides, not one. We
so you
see,
see two slides? My bad.
yes, we see the notes, speaker's notes, as well as the slides. So if you can just make it the slideshow.
Okay, seems a little different. Just a moment. Okay, this one is what you have seen. Let me try. Okay, something is happening. I'm trying to push. I'm trying for the full screen. It's not coming up on Zoom. Somehow something is missing. Having said that, let's continue like this. We'll definitely be compensating for this lack of visual show from the auditory point. Would like to explain a little things a little bit better as well. So first and foremost, thanks a lot for the opportunity to speak to the budding entrepreneurs. I believe that people in this session are primarily interested in startups as well as how exactly they are helping the sustainable future by building a scalable solution for them. A little bit more about me. My name is Ashish, as was introduced. I also am looking and supporting more startups in the geography and primarily looking after the early stage startup ecosystem, essentially supporting the individual startups to build something sustainable, which would be solving for more business use cases. Overall, AWS Startup Business Development Team supports more than 22,000 startups in the geographies which we mentioned. So with that in place, we have more and more use cases over here to be displayed over here. And hence for today's agenda, we have taken few of the use cases which fits perfectly into the theme today. And hence we would be talking primarily about why startups are on AWS, what are the main core reasons, and what exactly are the sustainability solutions which they are building on AWS, and how these solutions are focused on three big segments, essentially from the energy segment, from the transportation industry, and for the agriculture industry. And we will be presenting one customer presentation specifically from the Ion Energy, and we'll be highlighting one more customer, which would be Beta Technology. We would be keeping the last 15 minutes for the open question and answers as well. Just as a background check, if we can keep the questions towards the end, that would be helpful. However, if something is not audible, not clear, or basically I'm speaking too fast, please use the chat functionality to let us know so that we may moderate the pace, the content, and the helpfulness of the presentation according to your need. Now, with that, would like to start our overall presentation, essentially talking about why startups are on AWS currently, why exactly they build their system. So essentially, if I summarize everything together, there are two key pillars the startups definitely need to keep. First, they need to be agile. Now, what do we mean by agile? Essentially means that the startups needs to move faster. We definitely are living in an era wherein the technology is changing at a rapid pace. The computing power doubles every 5 years. Now that timeline is also reducing faster and faster. So the startups who are the, I would rather say the throne breakers, who definitely want to disrupt the industry, they need to move faster than the industry pace as well. Now, whatever solutions they are building, that need to be also changing in accordance with the changing need of the customer. So not only the startups needs to move faster, but they also have to keep pace with whatever changes are there in the existing industry as well. Just one of the examples which we can take over here is of Rivian. I believe you guys have heard about them. These guys are basically solving for an autonomous vehicle problem, wherein they are launching so many other autonomous products, and that is right now in a very rapid expansion phase. Amazon overall have also invested in Rivian. Now, just wanted to start, if you have heard about Rivian, definitely they are on AWS and they are using this particular architecture. I don't want to get too much into the technical detail for today's conversation. Just wanted to ascertain that this particular simple framework explains in detail how entirely their architecture is built. So if you will see that they have moved away from the monolithic architecture, they have adopted most of the AWS services like Amazon EC2, like AWS Secret Manager, Amazon Elasticsearch services, Amazon FSx for Lustre, etc. And with this simple architecture, they are scaling out the computing on AWS. More details can be found on this particular link. The presentation would be shared, so definitely you can take your own sweet time to go through the links and the content so that to understand what exactly Rivian is doing and how they are building on AWS as well. Now, the second essential point is that the startup needs to be frugal, essentially meaning that they definitely need to have the right tool for the right job at the cheapest price. If I say cheapest, it does not only mean monetary. In the term of total cost, it should be cheapest. Definitely, they want to use as many services as possible with this scalability in mind, but while being frugal. Now, at AWS, we have more than 200 plus services, and majority of the workload by the startups are covered by this. So 90% of their workload are definitely covered by this, and hence these startups definitely leverage more than 200 services on AWS in order to solve for the business problems they are doing so. Now, if I sum this together, if they are building a lean startup, we have to focus that there is no setup cost as well. Remember, I was talking about being cheapest, essentially meaning that the cost effectiveness should be there. If there are no setup cost, they would be able to launch any instance on cloud faster, essentially meaning that they would be undergoing multiple experiments, and each of these experiments will carry lower risk. Now, say for example, you want to have alpha beta test, you can have ABC test as well. And each of these experimentations, to launch them, to run them, to analyze them, the time lag between them would be really small, and the cost to do these experiments would be low. Hence, the risk would be overall low. Now, by focusing on these experimentation, by while keeping the risk, cost, and time utilization to the minimum, the entire team can focus on their core values, and hence they can build a lean startup. So this is the principle through which we are supporting multiple startups on AWS. And few of the examples which we can take during the discussion today will be those who are solving for the sustainability issue currently ongoing, and these sustainable solutions are entirely built on AWS. Now, if we say sustainability, one of the major factor becomes that they can harness the power of IoT. Now, what is IoT? We don't have to dive deep into that, but we definitely know that Internet of Things adoption is rapidly accelerating. If you will see that even now in 2022, total IoT devices installed are more than 36 billion. And that is growing at a rapid pace. Within 3 years, that would be more than 2x. And the data generated by them would be close to 18x overall. Essentially, that the IoT would become the key component of the entire digital business strategy, irrespective whether you are a startup or an enterprise or an SMB. Now, with this IoT adoption, what we also understand is that these IoT devices are key to the sustainability product, whether they are at the edge or at the physical system, whether they are solving for the data and insights, or whether they are supporting the business outcomes. Definitely the IoT aspect is supporting the sustainability project by enterprises, by startups. The bigger projects done by multiple enterprises are also done, undertaken, and completed by the individual startups, and hence I am focusing at how they are building it. They are primarily using AWS IoT Greengrass for at the edge and physical systems. Say, for example, the wind turbine and the transportation industry, where they are also using free RTOS. For the data insights, they are using AWS IoT Core, they are using AWS IoT Sitewise, they are using Amazon Monitron, and for the business outcome, they are using Amazon Lookout for equipments and Amazon SageMaker. Again, without going too much into detail of individual services for which we can have a separate one-to-one sessions, I would like to just mention that all these services essentially is trying to give three powerful tools, three powerful weapons. One is to collect overall data, analyze them, and act on them. Now, essentially, between these three pillars, we can see that we need to have orchestration and control. We need to have the intelligent insight and action in place. So, and as well as connectivity and integration, so that this can become a wholesome product, so that the sustainability issue to be solved for the action orientedness is there. Now, with AWS IoT, what are the customers building? They are primarily trying to improve the performance and productivity of the industrial processes. We know that there are so many places wherein more optimizations are required in order to, say, reduce carbon emission, or to save oil, or to save energy consumption, etc. We also these startups are also using AWS IoT to remotely monitor the patient health and wellness applications, or for efficient warehouse operations, or for building smarter products and user experiences in home buildings as well as for the entire cities. Now, this is from the consumer side. This is definitely from the consumer side, but for the upcoming technology, for the change, they are also helping more for transform the transportation. They are helping the energy companies manage more energy resources and grow healthier crops with greater efficiencies, as well as to support the enhanced safety at home, at office, or at the factory floor. So if you will see, AWS IoT is supporting a lot in the primarily the manufacturing and industrial space, as well as the logistics space, not only but energy and agriculture spaces as well. Now we have already spoken about Rivian. We can take another few examples which for the startups which are building the sustainability solutions or AWS. We can definitely dive deep a little bit more on Rivian if you want. If not, we can move ahead for any other example as well. Just taking another example for agriculture, and this is really unique example, and hence I wanted to mention and project to you. Now, BeeWise is a unique startup which deploy a wide interconnected network of distributed devices and sensors using AWS IoT Core and AWS IoT Device Management, so that they can help the plant pollination and honey production. Now let's see. Now typically, if you will see agriculture, it's hardly you can fathom that IoT can be used over here, or let's say more technology can be used over here. But BeeWise has changed it. If you see the quotation from Sar, who is the CEO and founder of BeeWise, the bees, they pollinate better and they produce more honey, and for us there is no great satisfaction because we are doing well by doing good. Now, how do they know it? Is because they wanted to decrease the average bee mortality within the beehives, and their beehives becomes much more advanced. The monitoring is at a beehive level, not at the pollination stage per se right now, but at a beehive level. So their beehives are all AI controlled. If you see there, the bee mortality have decreased by more than 40%. Another example which I can take would be still within the agriculture industry would be CropX. Now, CropX is soil sensor technology company, which basically have utilized the power of AWS to have more data insights around what are the essential parameters for growing crops, soil, and hence how exactly can we help know what is missing in soil. So they integrate it with the imaging, with the weather topography and the soil data, and analyze it by using the AI-based algorithm to provide analytical insight, so that the farmers may know which crop, when to sow, what exactly are the circumstances through which they can increase the yield. So this startup combines the above ground data set with the in soil data measured by sensors, which transmit the data to the AWS based platform, essentially meaning that they not only take the soil and the topography detail, but they also use above ground data set. Essentially, I was talking about the weather, about the imaging, so that they understand which region should have what kind of a crop, which soil condition, which weather, which season would require which kind of a crop, and how exactly can that be helped. Now, this has demonstrated that there will be for less than 40% water saving across different cross type with a 10% yield increase. And hence, this particular startup is revolutionizing how the farmers are selecting the crop, using the water management over there to reduce the cost as well as yield increase. So if we have talked about these two, we can also talk about another startup, which is SOL Shares. Now, Sol Share is basically is providing state-of-the-art technology from free RTOS on devices to services in the cloud. Now, as per the CTO of Sol Share, Hannes, it was mentioned that with AWS investment, they have been able to shift our development resources to focus on building an innovative peer-to-peer microgrid that is bringing affordable solar electricity to communities in Bangladesh and beyond. So for emerging countries like Bangladesh, the grid system was a little different. So if you'll see the energy consumption and the energy infrastructure, there is so much loss happening. So what they did was basically they created smaller grids, so smaller solar grids connected with each other. So it securely and efficiently allowed people to trade excess solar energy from in-home solar systems. So not only people are powering their houses, but also trading the excess solar energy, thereby generating more income in developing countries. Now, this definitely uses multiple solutions from AWS. It also helps in the economy. It also helps in the sustainability challenge as well. So definitely they are bringing a revolutionizing product. And the product is not more about the device per se, but how exactly the free RTOS on constrained MCO devices are securely connected with the microgrid logic connecting, right? So that's basically something which is really revolutionary. Now, how if the climate changes, if the weather changes, definitely these grids will let us know that fine, the powers can be coming from say another say pin code or another city or something. So that way they are trying to create a whole grid around Bangladesh, and they will be expanding to other countries as soon as possible as well. Now, one of the another company which I can take name for is Beta Technologies. Now, Beta Technology is basically an aerospace company primarily, but they are solving for how exactly the electricity within the aviation industry is used. If we know that the fuel consumption in the aerospace industry is huge, and hence they are going for the electric aircraft. Like what you have heard for electric cars, they are going for electric aircraft as well. Not only that, they are building their charging network, they are building their simulation and training as well, so that everything can be run on batteries, on an electric. So how exactly they perform is they basically utilizes a multitude of AWS services, as well as they use third-party services, so that the flight test or the data from the battery, from the motor, or from the while the manufacturing is there, the data can be ingested through Amazon Kinesis, stored in Amazon S3. Then they can analyze the data using AWS Glue crawlers, and then they can store that as well in Amazon S3 and Amazon Redshift to further keep them for reporting, for analyzing processes, and then send it out to their internal customer. The internal customers are the electric engineering. Say, for example, the battery, how exactly the battery is performing. They ingest it, they analyze it, they store it, and send it out to their electric engineering part component of the aircraft, and then they can optimize, say, the speed, say the height, say the weight, curve weight, and they can also do that for the simulation testing as well. So it is primarily a model-based design, and they utilizes a lot many data points coming within their aircraft, as well as taking the input from the multiple other sources as well. One of the another example I can take over here is Ion Energy. Now they are accelerating the Earth's new energy transition using AWS. That's basically their big thing. Now, essentially, they are betting big on the all electric future of the world. Now, like what we have seen, the huge scope in how the electric cars are moving, we now know that the entire world is having a paradigm shift in how exactly we commute and also utilize more and more electric products. Now, essentially, if you will see the overall energy distribution system, the energy industry, it's primarily related to how the energy is generated and how it is distributed. But now it's more about not only the distribution, but also how can we store these energy and can consume this energy. So a lot more emphasis is going on into storing the energy at the right place. How exactly can we provide more insights, how to improve the efficiency in the storage and the consumption as well. And definitely, as per them, this is the greatest opportunity of our generation. Now, earlier, the utility companies, they used to work with independent owners and operators, and they were having the monolithic architecture, which is now right now fragmenting. So the power earlier was with utility companies, which is moving now towards the independent owners and operators. So even in your country, if you are aware how exactly in earlier days the utility companies were primarily government owned, and now it's basically moving towards more of the owners and the operator side of the business, and they are controlling a lot of business, because of which there are so many other issues generated within each of their respective MENA countries as well. However, if we want to change this, if we want to participate in this, we definitely need to have more understanding of how we individual as a user can help in generating more energy. Like I took an example of the solar example, how we can store energy effectively. So for example, the lithium ion storage of your old cell is now moving into a direction wherein we can recharge them. How exactly can we recharge them faster in a better way? How exactly can we help in the supply and eventually save money? So now this energy, whatever you are storing and consuming, it comes in multiple forms, right? Essentially, this stored energy in a battery, say, for example, it can be used in electric vehicle. It can be used for charging infrastructure, which is there in your home as well. Or it can help for utility scale storage as well as these energy form can be used for telecommunication and can be generated from solar and wind. Essentially, if we can move from this lead acid battery and move towards the lithium ion battery, we can store more energy in a compact form, recharge them, and hence we can put more technology, health monitoring, maintenance, and end of life valuation as well. Now, there are more chemistry options as well. Say, for example, we have more advanced BMS and sensors, and which we can use to replace these lithium ion batteries every 5 to 7 years as well. And these are overall, let's say 20% of the 20% to 40% of the asset cost. Now, what they have built, what Ion Energy have built is AlterGo. This is basically a modern asset management platform for energy. Essentially, they have their assets over here, which has the warranty, the financing, the operations, and can give analytical insights into the energy demand, can also support with the asset health and maintenance as well. And this particular AlterGo is asset agnostic. So essentially one single platform for all distributed energy assets. So whether you are utilizing in vehicles or in charging infrastructure or in utility scale storage or in telecommunication and UPS, you can definitely use them. And how exactly they do so is basically they power it by digital twins and ML, AI ML. Now, what is digital twin? I'll come to that in a minute, but just to explain you this entire blueprint is basically this whole diagram. Now, essentially, if you will see, they have more components, systems, and contacts in place with the alter ego. And then basically they have more estimation, simulation, and verification, which goes into the reporting on Tableau using AI as well. Now, essentially, what I was just mentioning is digital twins. Now, essentially, what is digital twin? The digital twin is a digital representation of the physical assets and all their components. So if you have a car, it can have, let's say, a digital twin, and we can copy that on data and utilize the attributes of these digital twin to analyze how exactly can we help it perform better. So for example, your car, we can have the digital twin, we can have those assets and attributes, like say, for example, how exactly to run it faster. We can run the simulation to understand how exactly the batteries would be helping reducing, say, for example, the air friction, say, for example, fuel efficiency, say, for example, the road reliability, etc. and etc. There are multiple places wherein we can use it as well. And the same can be done for an aircraft engine as well. So what we can do with this digital twin, so we can run simulation. A lot of simulation can be run using the predictive analytics, and we can help it understand what exactly can be done once this digital twins copy, which is the physical asset, will run in the real life. Say, for example, if the physical car will run, how exactly the battery will perform. So essentially, by having this digital twin running more and more simulation using AI ML, and trying to optimize more and more on all the different aspects, we have the downside protection of predictive operations and management, anomaly detection, whether this will break, say, for example, the battery will break after 75 degrees centigrade in real life weather, if it will basically not work if the curve weight is more than, say, 500 kgs, etc. So we have more anomaly detection, we have more predictive maintenance part, we have more data driven designing, which reduces the risk of basically breaking it down, and it also have increases the max and maximizes the upside. Say, for example, we can have more simulation run to understand how to have more dispatch optimization. We can have higher fleet uptime. Say, for example, you are a car company and you have 100 automobiles within yourself. How exactly can you run the simulation to understand the fleet uptime is improving day by day, is improving towards the maximum capacity. And then we can also increase the performance benchmarking. We can increase the benchmark, we can see that whether it is nearing the threshold or not. If not, basically how to maximize these. So these can be done definitely by digital twins, essentially simplifying it, simply saying that the physical assets have a digital twin. We can run analysis on them using AWS power to have understanding of more how the energy consumption, energy storage, and energy distribution would be utilized for any asset, which can be with cars, with power companies, with anybody else, right? So that was basically the overall core point to be discussed over here. So by doing so, we will be not only removing the dependency. Say, for example, at a physical location, you have to do so many alpha, beta tests on the physical asset, right? So you can definitely remove such dependency and reduce the cost using this particular service. So instead of, let's say, instead of logging into 6 platforms, say, for example, how the entire fleet was designed and simulated, how exactly the analytics dashboard is looking, the data management aspect was looking, data visualization, BI, and O&M analytics was looking. Instead of, let's say, logging into 6 different platforms to have the more optimization view, you can have it in one go at one place. So they are creating a kind of an Iron Man suit for your team, which is a no code, low code environment, which can be deployed in 4 weeks, summarizing all these 6 dashboard, and you can start having incremental operational revenue by building a digital twin, unifying all the data sources, providing the ready to use application, giving accessing the SDKs to build the custom applications, run predictive analytics using ML and AI, and thus increasing the operational revenue. Now, where do we come into picture for this? So if you will see, this is the entire blueprint of how AWS has held energy over there. So they have the public subnet, they have the alter go collector on elastic beanstalk. They basically put it on the from this public subnet, they move it to the private subnet so that the data is stored within their own architecture and then can use it. And these sensors on the towards the left, the IoT sensors from the battery is feeding in the data. So that's basically just a simple explanation, very simple explanation of how exactly their architecture is built. And using this architecture, they use Amazon Kinesis for the anomaly detection as well. So the battery's raw data is coming into the streaming data. This basically goes into the anomaly detection, and then basically it notifies the users as well as goes into the process data for the secured storage. Now, with that, they are able to also build alpha and IP privacy as well. Now, essentially meaning that they will process the data at an arm's length. They will have a single tenant VPC on AWS, and they will be making each one of the solutions a little different. So the AlterGo is a proprietary IP model, algorithm, and strategies which can help you with, let's say, more operational profit in case you are an enterprise or a startup looking for that. Now, with that, I would stop talking about Ion Energy. That was basically just a customer dive deep into what exactly they are doing and how exactly they are solving for the need of startups, solving for the enterprise requirements as well. Like Ion Energy, Beehive, Rivian, we have multiple other startups which are building on AWS. So the big names which you have heard about, say for example, Airbnb, Pinterest, Stripe, in these names, they definitely have started building on AWS. They, from the first code to till now, they have on AWS, and they choose AWS, as I was mentioning earlier, because of the pace of the innovation, because we are customer obsessed. We have the global footprint, as well as we have the entire ecosystem which can help them with the security and compliance, as well as the AI ML integrations as well. Now, in order to support these startups and you guys, we have built programs and resources which supports the startups beyond these core services infrastructure as well. So we consistently discuss their startups need, what they require, and they consistently comes up with three core issues: access to capital, access to customer, and access to the technical enablement. We have supported that through number of our programs. One of the programs is AWS Activate, which gives Activate offers up to $100,000 in AWS promotional credit, as well as business support credit for you to start your AWS journey. We also have AWS Connection and AWS Marketplace, which gives the access to customers, essentially giving the let's say facilitating the relationship between AWS enterprise and startup customers, as well as in case you are a B2B startup, your product can be listed on AWS Marketplace so that the other startups, other enterprises, other entities can see it, and hence giving more access to customers. And from AWS training and certification, through AWS partner network, through AWS solution architect, we support the technical requirement of the individual startups as well as the business requirement as well. And we work with the accelerators and incubators in order to facilitate these accesses through number of programs. So whether you are a part of, say, Y Combinator or Falak startups, or say, for example, any local ANIs within MENA as well, we are working with them in order to provide the individual startups with these accesses. So essentially, the entire startup team which we have built over here is focused on startups. They have a dedicated startup account team. We can give the technical office hours for accelerators. We have the access to industry-specific specialists. We provide free technical training and resources, and we give the joint AWS marketing and PR opportunities as well, thus giving the maximum benefit of AWS to the individual startups. Overall, whether your startup is at a formative stage, at a validation stage, or a growth stage, we have specific programs to support yours: cost reduction, training, tech support, solution architect support, go-to-market and sales, as well as for the funding. So that's all I would like to basically keep, and would like to just focus on this slide. That's all from my side. I would be opening up for the question and answers as well. In case you have any, feel free to ask those. Do we have any questions?
If you guys have any questions, you can write them in the chat. It's open for everyone. Or you can ask to talk and we can unmute you.
If not, I totally understand that. Definitely, you guys are a little um, tired of basically listening to all the panel members talking about all the different aspects, and it may be a little confusing for the day. I totally get it. What I can do is provide my email ID so that you can connect with us directly in case you have any specific issue, either on how the startups worldwide or which startups are solving for the sustainability issue, how exactly they are contributing, or what exactly are the services used by these startups, or how can we help your part. More than welcome. You can definitely write it back to us and we will be more than happy to respond. Okay.